Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Today in this video, we're going to talk about heartbreak. Bikes that I sold that I regret selling. These 5 bikes, they have a special place in my garage and I wish I had them back. So let's get started. Number 5, the Honda Elite 150 from 1985. That's right, this is the only scooter that's on my list right now. But you know, I do have the Honda PCX in my garage, and if I sell it, I would probably replace this with that one. But one of the things I really like about the Elite is that it's a really nice engine, plenty of power, and it had that retro quality that's missing on most bikes. So the 1985 Honda Elite 150, if you guys remember, I bought this thing for $100. And it was non-running. It was in a barn. The guy needed to move out of his job and he had it in a container. It was full of dust. I wasn't quite sure if I could get it to run. And after, I think, a week, I put it all together. Everything went back together really well. And it fired up and ran perfectly. And then I put it up for sale and I barely made, $500. That really was not worth selling. That bike was a keeper. Sometimes you get these bikes, they're great deals and you should keep them. I wish I had a larger garage that I could use as a museum, but unfortunately I don't. The design was like peak 80s. It was boxy, it was bold. It had the brake lever on the floorboard. It just oozed lots of style. And the motor, of course, was surprisingly peppy for a scooter. It made it perfect for zipping around town with a smile plastered to my face. I loved how effortless it was to ride, but I always wished it had that. One of the things that I wish that particular Honda Elite 150 had was the flip-up headlight and the digital gauge from the Elite 250, I believe. So I kind of wish it was the deluxe version, but otherwise, that was one of the coolest retro bikes I've had. Good speed. Yeah, really cool bike. I can't believe it's from 1985. It's one of these bikes that surprises everyone, especially how quick it is. So number 4, the Honda ST1300. Now, I'm not a newbie to the Honda ST1300. They are the best bang for the buck you can get because people just don't like these big sport touring machines anymore. But I have a special space in my garage for an ST1300 even now because no matter what mileage you get an ST1300, they're still good. Like 100,000 miles, yeah, they're still good. It's like a Honda Civic size engine. The Honda ST1300 was my go-to for devouring miles and for crunching states. And it did so with this purr in the engine. The roar from this engine was very unique. It had a V4 engine and it had the sound that had divided opinions. But for me, that high-pitched Jetsons-like whine, it was music to my ears. And the bike was just built for endurance, comfort, and reliability. Sure, at high speeds, this bike was not as stable as some of its competitors, such as the FJR 1300, with that high-speed wobble and just kind of vagueness. But for most conditions, this bike was just a pure, awesome sport touring machine. And for $4,000, you can still get these on the marketplace, and I've seen them as low as $2,000. That's kind of crazy for a 1300cc engine with a shaft drive and all-day comfort. The ST1300 really is the baby Gold Wing. The brakes on this are excellent as well. This bike is so easy to speed. It's 55 miles an hour. It feels like I'm doing like 10 miles an hour. Oh. but I like how it handles a whole lot more. It's a little bit more predictable. The power is a little bit more linear. I'm trying to keep within reason of the speed limit. You don't need to downshift very much on it. It does have a lot of room for cornering. I've never hit any pegs on this thing. A lot of bikes do that too. I hate doing that. Like, I try to stay within reason. Yeah, this thing will really... Oh man. Oh my god. Number 3, the Triumph Speed Triple. That's right. I had a 2000 Triumph Speed Triple, and I have good memories on that bike. I rode it from DC all the way to Key West and back, of course. It had no fairing, but I love the stocky, short wheelbase look on it. Single-sided swing arm. It was beautiful. It had the 2 round headlights. It was retro without being retro. It was a wheelie machine and really quite fun. I put 75,000 miles on it, and I just love going around corners. I love the sound it made. The Triumph Speed Triples and the 3-cylinder engines are they're fantastic sounding. It was stylish, it was fast, and just a little weird. You know, those bug eye headlights, they were iconic. This bike was also in movies. It had a short wheelbase. It was perfect for wheelies or accidental or otherwise. And the triple cylinder engine, had this growl that made me feel like I was piloting a race bike straight out of a movie. What I loved most was how unique it felt. It was exotic enough to turn heads, but didn't come with the headaches of constant maintenance like a Ducati. Now, this bike wasn't worth selling, but at the same time, I had 75,000 miles on it. At a certain point, I would have 100,000 because it was that fun to own. Number 2, the 1981 Gold Wing GL1100. In the past, I kind of shied away from Gold Wings because to me they didn't look sporty enough. And then I rode the new Gold Wing, I rode the GL1500, and I wanted to look for an earlier Gold Wing. And I came upon the GL1100. I bought it for $700. And that thing was amazing. I love the engine. The flat 4 engine sounded like a Porsche. It was extremely unique, and also at the same time, the Gold Wings have become completely different. They have gained a lot of girth. This one was still one of the smallest Gold Wings you could get. It had tubeless tires. The carbs worked really well. It was in perfect condition, and I really regret selling it because it didn't have that many miles. 40,000 miles on a Gold Wing is practically nothing, and I sold it for not much more money, and I regret it. That bike deserves a spot in just about everybody's garage. If you're a fan of Hondas in general, that thing is just so cool to have. The flat 4 engine was a masterpiece. It sounded like a Porsche and it delivered buttery smooth power, and it made riding feel special. These bikes were built to last. They were reliable, comfortable, and capable of racking up hundreds of thousands of miles. And actually, the highest mileage bike has been in the Guinness World Records is a GL 1100 with 550,000 miles. And I've always wondered why people go after imitations of retro bikes when the real deal exists. If I had a chance, I'd snatch up another one of these in a heartbeat. The GL 1100 and even the 1000, they just make really cool bikes. You know, I'm also looking at the GL1200, but there's something odd about it, about removing the fairings. It doesn't seem to look as cool as the GL1100. But this bike is not about speed. And I never thought about getting a Gold Wing for the speed. It's just fun to ride. I think the unbelievable smoothness of this engine just makes it so soothing to ride. And if I had a windscreen, you could hear that awesome engine. But even now you can hear it, and I'm not even breaking the speed limit. And I think that's one of the things I enjoy about this particular old bike. And it pulls out of corners really easily as well. Love is like riding slow and really hearing that engine. Think about keeping the weight like down low. Back then, Honda even then realized that, yeah, that's an important thing to do. Keep the weight down low. You're gonna build a heavy bike, might as well keep it low. That's 25 miles an hour, and this bike just sounds and rides so well. Man, it sounds so good when you get on the gas on this bike. Bike feels like it shouldn't be predictable in corners, but it is. And because of the way it makes torque throughout the power band, it's so easy to know the speed you need to be going. Whatever gear I'm in, by the way, it's got 5 gears, not 6. So it doesn't have cruise control, it doesn't have heated grips, it doesn't have traction control. It's just a very simple bike. But back in the day, because of the air suspension, that was a technological improvement over a standard bike. That's full throttle in 2nd gear. Because it's freezing out, you can break traction on it, but you don't need traction control on something like this. And now, number 1, the crown jewel of my regrets is the Yamaha Super Ténéré. This thing was a beast. I love riding this. I had the 2012 Yamaha Super Ténéré. I sold it with 60-something thousand miles, and I fully regret it. That bike I could still have in my garage even with 100,000 miles, and I'm still amazed how good that thing is. Everything about it felt perfect. 1200cc, it got 45 miles to the gallon, it had a shaft drive, it was the ADV styling, so it was very easy to get up and go, and it's also quite a big bargain when you compare it to the BMW GS. And at the same time, You have much, much better reliability than the GS and lower cost for service. At one point, I thought maybe I'll get the Yamaha Ténéré 700. But even now, the hype is kind of winding down on the Ténéré 700. I know that with Itchy Boots getting that bike, it's seen a resurgence, but I don't think it's that great of a bike if you are just an average rider. To me, the Ténéré 1200 really is one of the most perfect bikes. Enough power, not crazy power, enough torque, and it's easily one of the better bikes that I could possibly still have in my garage. This bike was just an absolute tank. It would conquer highways, dirt roads, and everything between without breaking a sweat. And what made the Super Ténéré special was its bulletproof reliability, the shaft drive that refused to quit, and the price tag that just put the BMW GS to shame. It was the ultimate adventure bike in my opinion. Every time I see one on the road, I feel a pain. I'm still searching for a 2014 plus model to redeem myself, and when I do, trust me, it's staying in my garage for good. Whoa, I did like come off the ground with that one. I could do. The one thing I learned from riding the XR650R off-road and single track is that you need to gas it. The bike always pulls forward, like it doesn't have a hard time. It's a pretty decent trail, but you see like plenty of mud here. There's a lot of water coming down here. So I could like stand up, but I am just not good at standing up and riding, even on my bicycle. Another campsite here. There's a little creek here. And I'm in touring mode just because it is. And you can see how steep this is. If I drop this bike here, I'm going to have a real hard time getting it back up. This thing is not meant for rocky stuff like this, but oh shit. Jesus. But I mean, the bike will cope. Whoa! Man! Holy, I dropped like an anchor there. So at least now this is more of an open road. See a road coming up that's pretty decent to ride, but these open roads are easy. You'd have to definitely slow down when it comes to the back road in these. And this is like a little bit of a wet spot. I like to do that. Careful with the grass clippings there. And there you go. Those are the top 5 bikes I regret selling that left a little mark in my black heart. And post in the comments below what bikes you regret selling. And of course, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.